Matt Thompson woke to the soft hum of his alarm, the Austin sun spilling through the blinds of the cozy bungalow he shared with his wife, Emma. At 32, he'd built a steady career as a freelance graphic designer, juggling deadlines for local startups while savoring the flexibility to sneak a mid-morning coffee run. Emma, 30, was already up, her data analyst brain ticking as she scribbled notes for a presentation at her steady job with a local logistics firm. Their life wasn't flashy, but it was theirs, built on shared routines, quiet trust, and a mutual love for the small moments that made every day feel full. Saturday mornings were sacred. Matt pushed a cart through the bustling South Congress Farmers Market, while Emma weighed avocados with the precision of a chef planning their next taco night. "These are perfect," she said, holding up a ripe one, her eyes bright with the kind of enthusiasm that made Matt's chest warm. They bantered about whether to try a new salsa recipe or stick to their tried and true, their laughter blending with the market's hum. Vendors hawking fresh peaches, a busker strumming a guitar nearby. It was the kind of scene that felt like a snapshot of everything right in their world. Back home, they unpacked groceries, moving in sync like a well-rehearsed team. Matt chopped peppers while Emma stirred a pot of chili, their playlist shuffling through indie rock hits. They'd been together 5 years, married for 2, and their rhythm felt effortless. Over dinner, they swapped stories. Matt about a picky client who wanted a logo edgier but not too edgy, Emma about a coworker's botched spreadsheet that she'd saved at the last minute. Their conversations flowed easily, punctuated by comfortable silences that never needed filling. Later, sprawled on the couch, they binged a new crime drama, Emma predicting the killer's motive 3 episodes in. Matt grinned, shaking his head. "You're too good at this," he teased, and she nudged him playfully. Their biggest dreams sat pinned to the fridge, a trip to Italy planned for next summer. Matt had 2 itineraries saved on his phone, one for Rome's ancient ruins, another for Florence's art-filled streets. Emma had added a third, a detour to a tiny Amalfi Coast village she'd found on a travel blog. "We'll sip limoncello and pretend we're locals," she'd said, her voice dreamy. Matt loved that about her, her ability to make even the smallest plans feel like an adventure. They weren't rich, but they were comfortable. Emma's salary covered the essentials, while Matt's freelance gigs added enough for occasional splurges, like the concert tickets he'd surprised her with last month. Matt showed his love through actions. He'd slip out early to grab her favorite oat milk latte from the corner cafe, leaving it on the counter with a sticky note, "For my genius." Emma matched him with her own gestures, tucking a handwritten joke into his laptop bag or organizing his chaotic inbox when he got swamped. They split chores without debate, Matt tackling laundry while Emma handled bills. Their friends envied their partnership, often joking that Matt and Emma were that couple who made marriage look easy. At a recent barbecue, their buddy Jake had raised a beer and said, "Y'all are goals, man." Matt had just smiled, squeezing Emma's hand under the table. But even in their perfect routine, life was shifting. A week ago, Emma had come home buzzing with news. A tech startup, Nexus Innovations, had offered her a job. It came through Ryan, an old college friend who worked there. "Better pay, real growth potential," she'd said, pacing the kitchen. "They're doing cutting-edge stuff, AI, data modeling. It's a chance to actually make a difference." Matt saw the spark in her eyes, the kind he hadn't seen since their early dating days. He'd pulled her into a hug. "You're gonna kill it," he said, meaning every word. The job meant longer hours, but Matt was all in. He'd pick up takeout or handle dishes on nights she worked late. This was their partnership, supporting each other's wins, no matter what. That night, as they lay in bed, Emma scrolled through her phone, reading about Nexus's latest projects. Matt sketched a logo idea on his tablet, half listening as she rambled about machine learning. He glanced over, catching her profile in the dim light. She was sharp, driven, the kind of person who could untangle a problem before most people even saw it. He felt a quiet pride, the kind that came from knowing he was building a life with someone who got him, who chose him every day as much as he chose her. They didn't know it yet, but a shadow was creeping in. The next morning, Emma left for an early meeting at Nexus, her first unofficial day shadowing the team. She kissed Matt goodbye, promising to text when she was free. He waved from the porch, watching her car disappear down the street. The day felt normal, another piece of their steady life. But somewhere, in the hours she spent away, a thread was loosening, one that would soon unravel everything they'd built. Emma's new job at Nexus Innovations hit the ground running. She left their Austin bungalow each morning with a quick kiss and a thermos of coffee, her energy electric as she dove into the fast-paced world of the tech startup. Matt, still freelancing from home, adjusted to her longer hours. He'd have dinner ready when she texted about late team meetings or project deadlines. Her enthusiasm was contagious. She'd come home buzzing about predictive algorithms or a new client pitch, and Matt listened, nodding along, proud of her drive. He'd cook her favorite stir-fry or order pizza on nights she stayed past 7 p.m., happy to be her anchor in their shared life. Their weekends, once filled with farmers market trips and lazy Netflix marathons, started to shift. Emma's phone pinged constantly. Work emails, she said, or group chats with her new team. Matt didn't mind at first. He'd sketch logos at the kitchen table while she typed rapid replies, her focus split. "This place is intense," she'd say, laughing it off. "But it's worth it." Matt believed her. He'd always trusted her, the way she trusted him to handle a client crisis or pick up groceries when she was swamped. Their Italy trip was still the goal, the itinerary growing with every late-night chat about gelato shops and coastal hikes. But small things began to nag at Matt. Emma started keeping her phone face down, a habit she'd never had before. When he asked about her day, her answers were shorter, vaguer, less like the detailed breakdown she used to share. One evening, she came home after 8 p.m., claiming a client dinner ran late. Matt nodded, reheating her plate, but noticed she barely touched her food, scrolling her phone instead. "Everything okay?" he asked, keeping his tone light. "Just exhausted," she said, flashing a quick smile before heading to shower. The smile didn't reach her eyes, and Matt felt a flicker of unease, like a warning light on a dashboard. The real crack came at the South Congress Farmers Market, a place that used to feel like their sanctuary. It was a sunny Saturday, the air thick with the smell of fresh herbs and grilled tacos. Matt pushed their cart, while Emma picked out jalapenos for their next salsa experiment. A woman's voice cut through the crowd, calling Emma's name with a squeal. It was Sarah, a co-worker from Nexus, her arms open for a hug. Emma lit up, introducing Matt with a quick, "This is my husband." Sarah shook his hand, her energy warm and chatty. "You guys are adorable," she said, then launched into a story about a team happy hour. Matt, making small talk, asked, "So, Nexus keeps you busy?" "Long hours." Sarah laughed. "Not really. 6-hour shifts are a dream. Leaves time for life, you know." She grinned, oblivious to Emma's sudden stillness. Matt's smile held, but his mind snagged on her words. Emma had told him her department ran full 8-hour days, sometimes longer, to explain her late returns. He glanced at Emma, who jumped in, her voice a touch too quick. "Sarah's in marketing. My data team schedule is stricter, full days, plus overtime." Sarah nodded, unfazed, and the conversation moved to weekend plans. They said goodbye to Sarah and continued shopping, Emma pointing out a deal on avocados, her tone deliberately casual. Matt played along, joking about their taco night, but the math didn't add up. 6-hour shifts ended by 3 p.m., maybe 4 with a lunch break. Why was Emma home at 7 or 8? He pushed the thought down, not wanting to doubt her. She was his partner, the woman who'd left a sticky note on his coffee mug just last week. World's best sous chef. But the seed was planted, and it grew in the quiet moments. That night, as they watched their show, Emma curled up beside him, her head on his shoulder. Matt wanted to ask about the hours, but the words stuck. Instead, he mentioned Ryan, the college friend who'd recommended her for the job. "You ever catch up with him at work?" he asked, keeping it light. Emma's fingers paused on her phone. "Ryan? Yeah, sometimes. He's in a different department, though. Super busy." Her answer was smooth, but she didn't look up. Matt let it go, but the unease settled deeper, a low hum he couldn't ignore. Over the next week, Matt started noticing patterns. Emma's meetings stretched later, sometimes with no texts until she walked through the door. She'd laugh off his questions, blaming a demanding project or a last-minute client call. One night, she came home at 9 p.m., her hair damp like she'd just showered. "Gym at the office," she said, grabbing a water bottle. Matt nodded, but his gut twisted. Nexus had a gym? She'd never mentioned it. He hated the suspicion creeping in. It wasn't who he was. He'd always been the guy who trusted, who believed in their partnership. But the gaps in her stories were widening, and he couldn't unsee them. By Friday, Matt was distracted, his freelance work piling up as he replayed Sarah's words. He tried to focus, sketching a logo for a brewery, but his mind wandered to Emma's locked phone, her quick subject changes. He didn't want to be that guy, checking her texts or tailing her car, but the doubt was eating at him. At dinner, he tried again, casual as he could manage. "So, what's Ryan like these days? You guys talk much?" Emma's Ford paused mid-air, just for a second. "He's fine. Just a colleague now." "What?" Her tone was sharp, defensive. Matt shrugged. "Just curious. You never mention him." She relaxed, but her laugh felt forced. "Not much to say. He's just Ryan." That night, Matt lay awake, Emma's steady breathing beside him. He stared at the ceiling, his mind racing. Was he overreacting? Maybe Sarah was wrong about the hours. Maybe Emma was just stressed, caught up in the new job. But the pieces didn't fit, and the trust he'd always leaned on felt shaky. By morning, he'd made a decision. He wouldn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, he opened his laptop and searched for a private investigator, someone discreet who could confirm or kill his suspicions. It felt like a betrayal of their life together, but the alternative, living with this gnawing doubt, was worse. He sent a message to a local PI, detailing Emma's schedule and Sarah's comment. Then he closed his laptop, his heart heavy but resolved. Whatever came next, he needed the truth. Matt's days blurred into a tense waiting game. The private investigator, a no-nonsense woman named Carla, had promised updates within a week. Matt threw himself into his freelance work, tweaking logos and pitching designs, but his focus faltered. Every ping of his phone spiked his pulse. Was it Carla? Emma? He kept up their routine, cooking dinner, joking about their Italy trip, but each smile felt like a mask. Emma, meanwhile, seemed oblivious, her late returns now a norm. "Big project," she'd say, collapsing onto the couch with her phone. Matt nodded, but his trust was fraying thread by thread. On Tuesday, Carla's first message landed. It was short, clinical. Emma left Nexus at 4:07 p.m., drove to a house in Hyde Park. Photos to follow. Matt's stomach churned. He'd half hoped for nothing, for an errand or a gym session to explain the hours. When the photos arrived, they hit like a punch. Emma stood on a porch, smiling, as a man, tall, broad-shouldered, opened the door. They hugged, lingering a beat too long. The man was Ryan, her old college friend. Matt recognized him from a blurry LinkedIn profile he'd checked days ago. The house wasn't an office or a coffee shop. It was residential, quiet, personal. Matt stared at the images, his mind racing to justify them. Maybe it was a work meeting at Ryan's place. Maybe they were just catching up. But the hug gnawed at him. Too familiar, too warm. He didn't confront Emma that night. Instead, he texted Carla to keep watching. He needed more than a hunch. He needed proof that wouldn't let him doubt his own eyes. Emma came home at 7:30, chatting about a client presentation, her voice bright but distant. Matt played along, asking questions, stirring pasta. Inside, he was unraveling, torn between love and suspicion. By Thursday, Carla's updates painted a pattern. Emma left Nexus Daily by 4:15, drove to Ryan's house, and stayed for 2 hours. More photos followed. Emma laughing as Ryan held the gate, their hands brushing. Emma stepping inside without knocking, like she belonged there. The final blow came Friday. A photo of them at the door, Ryan's hand on her waist, their lips meeting in a soft, deliberate kiss. It wasn't rushed or guilty. It was the kind of kiss that spoke of routine, of comfort. Matt's breath caught, his chest tight. He'd braced for this, but seeing it was different. The hope he clung to, maybe it's nothing, shattered. He spent the day in a fog, barely touching his freelance deadlines. The evidence was undeniable, but questions swarmed. How long? Why? Was their life, their taco nights, their Italy plans, a lie? He thought back to Emma's excitement about Nexus, how she'd glowed talking about Ryan's recommendation. Had it started then? Or earlier? The betrayal wasn't just the kiss. It was the months of lies, the way she'd looked him in the eye, shared his bed, while living a second life. That evening, Matt made a decision. No dealing, no rashmos. He needed to face this with clarity. He printed Carla's report, photos, timestamps, routes, and laid it out on the kitchen table, a cold map of Emma's deception. When she walked in at 7:45, tossing her keys and saying, "Rough day," Matt's voice was steady. "Sit down, Emma. We need to talk." She froze, her eyes flicking to the papers. He slid them toward her, watching her face as she opened the folder. The first photo, her and Ryan at the door, made her breath hitch. She flipped through, her hands trembling, until she reached the kiss. Silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. Ryan's not just a colleague, is he? Matt asked, his tone calm but unyielding. Emma's eyes welled up, but she didn't deny it. It's complicated, she started, her voice small. She admitted Ryan was her ex from college, that reconnecting at Nexus stirred old feelings. It wasn't planned, she said, tears spilling. We just talked and it happened. I didn't know how to stop. Matt listened, his jaw tight. She spoke of nostalgia, of feeling alive again, but each word cut deeper. It wasn't just the affair. It was the calculated lies, the nights she'd come home and kissed him like nothing was wrong. Why didn't you tell me? Matt asked, his voice cracking for the first time. Emma shook her head, sobbing. I didn't want to hurt you. I thought I could fix it, keep it separate. Matt almost laughed at the absurdity. Separate? Their life, their partnership, was built on being one unit. Now, it was fractured, and he didn't recognize the woman in front of him. He took a breath, steadying himself. I need you to leave, Emma. Tonight. Pack what you need and go. She tried to argue, her words tumbling out. Apologies, promises to end it. But Matt cut her off. There's nothing left to say. You chose this. His voice was firm, final. Emma nodded, tears streaming, and went to their bedroom. Matt stood by the window, watching headlights pass on the street as she packed a suitcase. The sound of the zipper closing felt like a door slamming on their life together. She left without another word, the front door clicking shut behind her. Matt sank onto the couch, the weight of it all crashing down. He wasn't angry. Not yet. Just hollow. The Italy itinerary on the fridge mocked him, a relic of a future that no longer existed. But even in the pain, a resolve was forming. This wasn't the end. He trusted Emma, built a life with her, and she betrayed it. He wouldn't let that define him. As the night stretched on, he opened his laptop, drafting an email to Nexus's HR. The truth, he decided, would be his first step toward reclaiming his peace. Matt sat alone in the quiet of their Austin bungalow, the echo of Emma's departure lingering like a stubborn shadow. Her suitcase was gone, along with the easy laughter that once filled their evenings. The Italy itinerary still hung on the fridge, but Matt couldn't look at it. Instead, he focused on the task he'd set for himself. He opened his laptop, the glow of the screen cutting through the dimness, and finalized the email to Nexus Innovations' HR department. He attached the investigator's report, photos, timestamps, routes, detailing Emma's affair with Ryan, her ex-turned colleague. It wasn't revenge, it was accountability. If Emma and Ryan could lie so easily to him, what else were they capable of at work? He hit send, the click of the mouse a small, resolute step toward closure. Emma, meanwhile, drove across town to Ryan's house in Hyde Park. Her hands gripped the steering wheel, her mind a tangle of guilt and relief. She'd left Matt, the man who'd been her rock, for a spark she thought she'd lost. Ryan greeted her at the door, his smile warm, his arms open. You're here, he said, pulling her into a hug. They sat over takeout, Ryan pouring wine and talking about their future like it was a fresh start. We're finally free, he said, clinking his glass against hers. Emma nodded, forcing a smile, but her stomach knotted. She'd traded her steady life with Matt for this, a man who stirred old memories but whose promises felt slippery. Still, she leaned into the moment, drowning her doubts in the idea of a new beginning. 2 days later, Matt's phone buzzed with a call from Jake, a mutual friend who worked at Nexus. Heads up, man, Jake said, his voice low. HR called Emma and Ryan in this morning. They're out, fired for conduct unbecoming. Your email stirred things up. Matt thanked him, hanging up with a strange mix of satisfaction and emptiness. He hadn't expected it to feel so final, so fast. Nexus had acted swiftly, citing a policy violation, likely the affair, conducted on company time, using company resources. Matt didn't gloat. He just felt the weight of betrayal lift slightly, like a bruise starting to fade. Emma's world, however, was crumbling. She'd been summoned to HR without warning, the investigator's photos laid out like evidence in a courtroom. Ryan sat beside her, his jaw tight, as the HR manager cited unprofessional behavior and handed them termination letters. Emma's cheeks burned, Not just from the firing, but from the realization that Matt had exposed them. Back at Ryan's place, she confronted him. "Did you know about the photos?" she demanded. Ryan shrugged, unfazed. "Doesn't matter. We'll find other jobs." His nonchalance stung, but she pushed it down, clinging to the hope that this was still a fresh start. That hope shattered a week later. Emma had a job interview lined up, a chance to rebuild at another tech firm. She decided to surprise Ryan, stopping by his house early. As she approached, she saw movement through the window. Ryan, laughing, his arm around a woman she didn't recognize. They were close, too close, their ease unmistakable. Emma froze, her key hovering over the lock. She knocked instead, her heart pounding. Ryan answered, his smile faltering. "You're early," he said, stepping outside, not inviting her in. The woman appeared behind him, casual, unapologetic. "This is Lisa," Ryan said. "Just a friend." But his tone was too familiar, echoing the same excuses he'd given her in college when she'd caught him cheating. Emma's voice shook. "A friend? Like I was—" Ryan didn't flinch. "We never said exclusive, Emma. You should have called." The words hit like a slap. She saw it clearly now. Ryan hadn't changed. The charm, the promises, were the same lies he'd spun years ago. She turned and left, her eyes stinging, the weight of her choices crashing down. She'd lost Matt, her job, and now Ryan, all for a fantasy that never existed. Back in Austin, Matt was moving forward. He boxed up Emma's leftover belongings, a scarf, a few books, and dropped them at a friend's place for her to collect. He didn't want reminders. His freelance work picked up, new clients filling his days. But the nights were harder, the silence of the house a constant reminder of what was. He started running again, the trails around Lady Bird Lake giving him space to think. He wasn't angry anymore, just determined to rebuild. When Emma called, her voice raw with anger, she accused him of ruining her career. "You sent those photos," she said. "You destroyed me." Matt stayed calm. "You destroyed us, Emma. I just told the truth." She tried to argue, but he cut her off. "We're done." He hung up, his hand steady. Emma's texts followed, apologies mixed with pleas for forgiveness. Matt didn't respond. He wasn't cruel, but he wasn't hers anymore. He deleted her messages, blocked her number, and focused on the life he could control. The divorce papers were already in motion, a clean break. He needed to move on. Emma, meanwhile, faced a harsher reality. Jobless, betrayed by Ryan, she moved back to her parents' house in Houston. Her father's silence was cold, her mother's questions sharp. Emma had no answers, only regret. She'd gambled everything and lost. Matt, though, was finding his footing. A new project landed, a branding gig for a local brewery, and he threw himself into it. At a client meeting, he met Lauren, a yoga instructor who designed their website. They talked over coffee, her easy laugh a contrast to the heaviness he'd carried. She mentioned her own messy breakup, and Matt found himself opening up just a little. It wasn't love, not yet, but it was a spark of something real, something honest. For the first time in weeks, Matt felt the possibility of a future that didn't hurt. Matt's new life in Denver unfolded with a quiet rhythm. 8 months after Emma's betrayal, he traded Austin's heat for Colorado's crisp air, taking a leap to start fresh. His freelance design business thrived, landing him contracts with local breweries and outdoor brands. He rented a small apartment near Wash Park, where morning runs along the trails cleared his mind. The Italy itinerary was long gone, torn from the fridge before he moved. He didn't need reminders of a life that no longer fit. Instead, he focused on the present, client deadlines, new routines, and a growing sense of peace. Lauren, the yoga instructor he'd met at a client meeting, became a steady presence. Their coffee chats turned into hikes in the Rockies, where they traded stories about their pasts. Lauren's divorce had been messy, too, but she spoke of it with clarity, not bitterness. "You don't forget the hurt," she said one day, pausing on a trail to catch her breath. "You just decide it doesn't own you." Matt nodded, her words sinking in. He wasn't over Emma's betrayal, but he was learning to let it fade, like a bruise that no longer ached when pressed. Their hikes became a ritual, punctuated by easy laughter and shared playlists. With Lauren, Matt felt something he hadn't in months, trust in small, honest moments. Back in Houston, Emma's life was a stark contrast. Living with her parents, she faced their disappointment daily. Her father barely spoke, his silence heavier than any lecture. Her mother pressed for answers, Why had she thrown away a good marriage, a solid career? Emma had none, only a gnawing regret that kept her up at night. Job applications went unanswered. The tech world was small, and whispers of her firing at Nexus lingered. She'd lost Ryan, too, after catching him with another woman. The memory of his casual dismissal, "We never said exclusive," stung as much as her own choices. She'd gambled on a rekindled spark, only to find it was the same flickering lie from their college days. Emma tried to reach Matt, desperate to undo her mistakes. She sent texts, then emails, each one more pleading than the last. "I see now what I lost," she wrote in one, her words raw. "I'd do anything to make it right." Matt read the first few, his thumb hovering over the reply button, but he never typed back. Her apologies couldn't erase the months of lies, the way she'd looked him in the eye while living a double life. Finally, he responded with a single line. "I wish you peace, but I've found mine." He sent it, then blocked her email, closing the door for good. The divorce finalized quickly. Emma didn't contest it, and Matt didn't ask for more than a clean split. He sold their Austin bungalow, splitting the proceeds as agreed, and used a share to fund his Denver move. The process was mechanical, but it freed him. He deleted old photos, unfollowed mutual friends on social media, and let go of the life they built. It wasn't about erasing Emma. It was about choosing himself. One evening, Matt and Lauren grabbed dinner at a food truck park, splitting tacos under string lights. She teased him about his terrible taste in hot sauce, and he laughed, the sound genuine. Later, as they walked by a frozen lake, Lauren slipped her hand into his. It was a small gesture, but it felt like a promise, one built on honesty, not secrets. Matt squeezed her hand, realizing he wasn't just healing. He was building something new. The pain of Emma's betrayal was still there, a faint scar, but it no longer defined him. Emma, meanwhile, faced a harder road. She landed a low-level data entry job, a far cry from her Nexus role. Her parents' house felt like a museum of her failures, old photos of her and Matt tucked away in drawers she couldn't bear to open. She tried therapy, hoping to untangle her choices, but progress was slow. She'd hurt Matt, lost her career, and fallen for Ryan's empty charm again. The mirror was her enemy, reflecting a woman she didn't recognize. Friends stopped calling, their lives moving on while hers stalled. In her quiet moments, she replayed Matt's last email. "I've found my peace." It stung because she knew he meant it. Matt's peace wasn't just about Lauren or Denver. It was in the choices he made after the betrayal, staying true to himself, seeking justice without malice. Sending the report to Nexus's HR hadn't been about revenge. It was about truth, ensuring Emma and Ryan faced the consequences of their actions. Their firing was a ripple effect, a reminder that choices have weight. Matt didn't dwell on it. He focused on his work, his runs, the way Lauren's laugh made him feel lighter. One weekend, they hiked to a lookout, the city sprawling below. "This is home now," he said, half to himself. Lauren smiled, nudging him. Good choice. For Matt, the moral wasn't in gloating over Emma's downfall. It was in reclaiming his life, piece by piece, through integrity and resilience. Emma's story, though, was a cautionary one. Her betrayal cost her everything. Not just Matt, but her career, her self-respect. She chased a fleeting thrill, only to find it hollow. As Matt looked out over Denver's skyline, he knew the real victory wasn't in what Emma lost, but in what he'd gained, a life built on truth and the courage to move forward.